G'day there, it's Dave here, Dave Mills with problem number 3, and we're talking about acceleration, and this position here, it appears quite equal, alright? Both queens are pointing at the king. There's white even has a rook in the end zone, which is fantastic. It's remember there's a non-contact force pulling you to the back rank, and so just on a comparison between the two rooks, the rook on the B file and the C file, the C rook is better than the B rook, you would think. And but the momentum of that rook is 5 times 4. It's actually 20. It's actually got complete access to their end zone, and this open file, the power of the open files to actually give maximum momentum to a piece is very, very important. Open files, open diagonals give maximum momentum to a piece, to a single piece. So we also see, so black has actually positioned its heavies on the open files. And once again, we were talking about acceleration. Okay, so acceleration in problems, often you want to go through the hierarchy. Okay, you want to start with the first type of acceleration, which is obviously in 1 or 2 tempos, threats, checks, and captures, and you want to think also towards the minor and major centers of gravity, so affecting your momentum. So it's black to move, because black's on the bottom moving forwards. I want to keep that forwardness, that sense that both pieces are colliding together. Now, both sides are colliding together. Now, obviously, you can define tempo. Like if you're going to work out, the speed of something, you have the initial tempo and you have the final tempo. Okay, and so it's very easy to sort of work out the tempo of something. Now, conservation of tempo, so you want to do things you want to conserve your tempo. You don't want to move the same piece twice in your opening. You want to actually, your time is the most precious thing. It's the cost you pay for your movements. It is we'll get into qualitativity and all that sort of thing in another video. Now, qualitativity is basically it's the productivity of the piece, and where is it going and what's it doing, and how much will it cost you to get there. In tempo. Tempo is the currency of chess. Tempo is the currency of chess. All right. Now, in this position, so when you want to actually solve a problem, you want to think the king. You want to think, barrages, batteries, and you want to think. So that barrages and batteries are positive. Positive alignments of pieces and positive, the direct and discovered attacks. So, whereas misalignments, misplaced pieces, and also loose pieces. Now they're called the 5 rings: the king, the loose pieces or semi-loose pieces, misplaced pieces, barrages, and batteries. They're the 5 rings. Now, the queen, and in a simple sense, obviously it's about momentum and how the pieces are colliding together. So the queen is obviously barraging down, park your car in the garage, barraging down with the rook, and so it has obviously more momentum than the opposing queen. The queen has the momentum of 9 plus 5, okay, that's 14, and is attacking 3 squares in their half of the board. So 14 by 3, and then you just have to count how many pieces. Now, there's a gravity, there's a major cog, a major gravity towards their back rank. So your black rook on the open b file is being pulled towards their back rank. So to solve this position, we can also break it down as that knight is a bad knight because it's a weak piece, because it's actually misplaced. It's misaligned. It's loose. It's on a diagonal with the rook, and so that's not a very nice place. But more importantly, a knight should be on the subcenter or center. So the knight's actually should be at f3. The knight here should be at f3, or it should be well aware of pressure against the overwhelming momentum against f2. So the knight on e2, it's literally floating in space. It's not guarding the dark squares. The attack, sort of suggests itself. The first thing is check the checks. They could be made, and the back rank is obviously that rook. How can you bring that rook into the game? Well, have you worked out the position yet? Have you solved it? I think I've given you enough time. Queen takes f2, check. Now, if the king just moves away, queen takes the rook on f1, and it's mate. The king is entombed. All right, but is it? When you take the rook, the knight jumps, defends the check, so it's not quite mate. But you end up with a rook and a pawn, and it's pretty much over she wrote. Okay, if you move the king. Now, if you actually capture the queen on f2, why doesn't that work? Well, because you're able to check the king with the b rook. Suddenly it's in their end zone, it's checking, but even more importantly, the momentum of the rooks are combined on f1. And so once again, you're going to, if you capture the queen, you're going to have the problem. All right, if you capture the queen, you're going to have the problem of checkmate. Okay, because it's actually what's happening is you're accelerating that rook to b1. Its velocity has changed. Obviously, it's down there. It's attacking them. Check, and it's now when the rook pulls back and defends. Obviously, defending with the knight, the rook would just capture it. It's going to be checkmate, because the king is not going to be able to move anywhere, and you've got overwhelming force on f1. So if your queen takes f2 and the king moves to h1, then you capture, all right, and that's over. And then the knight blocks. What can you do in the final position? You've got a knight on g1. What can you do? And you've got a queen on f1. What can you do? Well, you can. You've captured the rook. You can bring the rook down. Finally, you can bring the rook down to b1, and you're not concerned about your king, because your king can be defended, and it's just a question of velocity. Your opponent doesn't have time. If you're threatening checkmate again on g1 with the queen and the rook, creating a barrage in the end zone. So you've got all this momentum, all this gravity, and the king is a major gravity pulling your pieces in. It's just over. The attack is overwhelming. The position is crushing. Black is crushing it. And it's all because you understand about building your momentum, and busting through, And so I've spoken to you about your minimum speed, your minimum temp, using the conserving your tempo. Obviously, when you want to complete your development, obviously tempo, changes from one form to another form of energy. So, tempo or energy, you can look at it like that. And when you pin a piece, when you retard a piece, that's like a form of acceleration, because you've retarded them. Okay, and so obviously a piece that exchanges with another can lose or gain or conserve the tempo. So it's very important to just sort of think about it in those terms. So now, from a pattern recognition point of view, deflection off the back rank. I've seen this problem 100 times before, but it came down to first building the momentum of your pieces. Okay, so the queen and rook, and also the rook on the open file, and we can see in this position white completely underestimated the defense of the king, and didn't realize that the rook was actually also attacking the king. It's actually, the rook is at its incredible activity right now. It's literally, it's valued by its activity. So it's actually, it has a momentum of 20. That's it. That's a different way of evaluating and appreciating how powerful that rook is on the open file. And also, it's a different way of appreciating how powerful the queen and rook together are. So if you want to quantify how powerful things are, the DMT allows you to do that. And white completely misses the boat here completely, and doesn't have time to defend. With acceleration is because it's a threat checks and captures, they don't always have to respond. One of the best ways to defend an attack where they're trying to accelerate is to create your own attack, to counterattack. And it can actually completely wrong foot and mistime them, and also in between moves. There's ways of counterattacking acceleration with acceleration of your own, and retardation. People completely miss their own gravity in their own in their own position, or they miss the center, they miss their own loose pieces, they miss the position of their king. So look, chess has gone through an evolution from slashing, sacrifices, from the age of Morphy, where tempo, the energy of time, is so important, accelerating, using the acceleration. And then we had someone like Nimzovich come in, the hypermodern school, which actually showed us about different types of acceleration, retardation, change of direction, alternation, and attacking the center of gravity, the center, at a distance, instead of trying to control it through occupation. So it was a slower way. And now we're in the age of the technicians. Magnus Carlsen, the greatest player to ever live, is so technically refined. He brings the position. He uses a quality like a weapon. He's so technically refined, and his fighting spirit is so refined, it just hits you like a ton of bricks. So at any point, because it's human nature to make mistakes, and so obviously you want to think about it. The force of your position, right, actually is acceleration, right? It leads to acceleration. You need some sort of force applying for there to be acceleration, right? And so this center of gravity is very, very important. Now, in the next video, I'm going to give you an easy way of thinking about force. I'm going to talk to you further about this, and you're going to love it. All right, take care. Bye.